Come back. Corgi lost. Hi, this is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington Tea Touch practitioner for animals and people. This is Tristan, he's a Corgi, and we're here for an episode of Conversations with a Corgi. And we've had a few days off because I had to go to the TED Talks on Saturday, and I thought I would be able to do an interview there with somebody who did a talk last year, but there was literally no one there except me who did a talk last year. And I was going to talk to one of the organizers, but being an organizer, she was too busy organizing. So, and there were only 6 talks and none related to animals, but there were some inspiring ones, which when they're posted, I will point out. And then Sunday, I was very sick. This tree that fell in my yard has been just a headache, literally 4 or 5 times now, because I've had to carry branches and needles and leftovers and parts of the fence, and then it fell on the flower garden, which is over the leach field, so there's been a lot of cleaning up in there, and the vines and leaves in there and stalks are 6 feet high, and you can't just rake them, you have to snip every one. So I think I'm almost done that tree cleanup, and I am so grateful that professional tree people are coming in to take down the remaining ones that are in danger of hitting my house, because I don't think I have much more tree carrying in me. I am just, even today, broken from tree carrying. It's a big difference between working with horses and tree carrying. Tree carrying is hard work, not for 60-year-old women, for sure. So today I want to continue our series about end-of-life issues and hospice care for pets. And one of the modalities that I think is especially helpful, which is familiar to everyone now, but I remember 25 years ago, they were like, what? And I had my 3rd basement leak yesterday. Oh my God, Angel, I know. Somebody at work has had like 5 basement leaks too. That's of course in Western Massachusetts somewhere. It's been a hard year. Every time I've had a tree fall, she's had a basement leak, and it's not leaked in the entire 35, 40 years she's lived in the house. So I'm sure many of you, like me, are sensitive to things like environmental shifts, things like Mercury being retrograde, and just general planetary energetic shifts and astrological shifts. And I think that's why a lot of us are struggling. I called my mom yesterday to catch up on all of the things that have gone wrong in my life, and she had a whole bad day of things going wrong for her. She's also a Pisces, and as my father, and a lot of what was bad in my mom's day was her taking care of my dad. So I don't know, and my friend who's a Pisces has been having a really hard time too. I know like 20 Pisces. I'm sure another one of my friends I haven't seen because she's just hibernating to stay safe from whatever this energy is. Anyway, enough of that. Back to the topic, which is using Reiki in animal hospice care and at end of life, or even for seniors. I think Reiki is one of the best things you can get somebody to do for your pet at the end of life or during hospice care. Reiki is, hi Amy, something that didn't used to be very well known. I remember way back in the early 90s, I was in a cranial class assisting, and the instructor said to me on a break, gosh, there's only one person in here that does Reiki, and it's funny that they're drawn to take this class because they didn't see a huge overlap between the two. Now we, of course, know more. And now if I were to go assist at a cranial class, probably half of the class would be people who have been trained in Reiki. You can take Reiki classes online, and many people go for Reiki treatments and offer Reiki sessions. So it's not very hard to find somebody to work on your pet. With Reiki, it pretty much, if somebody's good at working on people, they can easily work on pets if they are not afraid of the pet. So one of the things that I like about Reiki for end-of-life issues is that Reiki draws on the universal life force. Some people might see that as qi in Chinese medicine. Other people might see that as your soul or the spirit or the overconsciousness, the all that is. But what Reiki does is just channel energy to that being, and channel is probably the wrong word, but bring energy to that being so that the being can use the energy however it needs, either in the dying process or in the healing process, which is why Reiki done well is so powerful for end of life. And there are many, many people across the country who do Reiki in hospice care. And I wish I could be one of them because, but our hospice doesn't offer anything except people to talk to. So I haven't found any place around here that would allow me to use my many skills in that setting, because a lot of what I do would be super helpful, even for the people sitting with somebody who's passing. So what makes Reiki so powerful at your end of your life is that part of the process of dying is not just leaving the body, but leaving the energy that's connected to this body during your lifetime. And so as those energy centers, the chakras, shut down over the body, and remember, animals like people have 7, but thanks to Marguerite Coates and some other people, we now realize that right in this area, animals have an 8th chakra that is about their connection to us. And so there's those 8 energy centers in the body of an animal that are going to shut down one after the next before the animal passes. If you were working with someone in hospice and they're going through a long, slow process of dying, which might be, to me, long and slow, might be 2 whole days or a week. For other people, like with my dog Comet, he was near the end of his life. It seemed like he was going to die 2 months before he died. And then right before he died, he had 1 good day and 3 or 4 really bad days before that. And then the day after the good day was his last day. So certainly during that process there, which was pretty fast at the very end, but over those days, Reiki was something he really needed and was happy to get. So those energy centers over the body are generally spinning like a circle of energy in a clockwise direction. And there's many episodes of Conversations with a Corgi back on YouTube about the chakras, and you can look up that information. They're associated with colors and needs. Lower chakras in the body are more connected with your physical needs, shelter and sexuality and feeling a sense of groundedness and home. And then the higher chakras are connected to speaking your truth and your connection to the divine and your intuition and things like that. So as you are in that process of dying, you become a more energetic and less physical being. So those lower chakras that are associated with the physical realm are going to shut down, meaning that clockwise spinning is going to stop. And someone recently asked me, oh my gosh, my pet's chakras are spinning counterclockwise in an area. Well, her dog has DM, so I'm not surprised. DM, remember, is this paralysis like Lou Gehrig's or ALS in humans, where the dog is gradually paralyzed from the back end forward. It's common in boxers, corgis, German shepherds, and a few other breeds. So, and so she was concerned because the chakras were spinning counterclockwise. That's not as a telling of an animal's readiness to pass as having the chakras simply shut down. So I'll just show you with Tristan. He's a youngster, but I am not going to be spinning this. And I know it's hard for you to see that because it's hard to hold when it really gets going well. And you can see it's starting to spin now around his buns as it's picking up the energy. And the pendulum is becoming married with the energy circle here. He's had a little trouble in his back lately, so if it's not too energetic there, I'm not surprised. See how he's feeling much stronger up here in his, well, we're pretty close to his heart chakra and his solar plexus. See how strong those are? And then partially while this is spinning, it's sort of clearing the chakra and getting like sludge out of the stream. So you can see even now there's a little wobble in his buns, but it's spinning stronger. So when your animal is near the end of his life, you will see it spinning. I have to hold this away from Tristan. Just a teeny bit like that, and not very fast. And if you're not very used to using a pendulum, it can be a little disconcerting. You might not be able to understand how to use it. You might be purposely spinning it. You've got to be really skilled with using this to be predictive with end-of-life things. And just because 6 chakras have shut down doesn't mean that those last 2 won't be going for a couple of days. That happened with the horse that I was working with. All of his physical chakras shut down within like 4 days, and the last 2 or 3 days, he was really only in his upper chakras. So one of the things you can do with a pendulum so that you can get better at using it is to just let it dangle in front of you. And it's best to do this with your arm supported on a table or something, and ask it which way is yes. So for me, it's gone right to left, and then ask it to tell you which way is no. So today for me, a no is not moving. And then I can ask it simple questions like, is my name Sally Morgan? Yep, it is. Do I like to eat lobsters? Nothing. So you can ask it questions that you know. And practice using it until you're good at it. My friend Wendy, who's joining us, is one of the people that taught me how to use pendulums, and she's very skilled. So when your animal is at the end of his life, you'll see those chakras shut down one by one by one, where it will be gradually spinning less and less. What is the actual stone that I am using? Well, being a person very attached to, oh, my surprise, blue, this is a piece of lapis. I have another one that has a piece of sodalite on the end, a blue sodalite. It looks almost exactly like it. And then this one I love. I got this at a crystal show years ago. Actually, I might have gotten it from Wendy's store when she was here. This one has stones on the end of it for 6 chakras. So that makes it even better for me to use for this sort of thing. But you can literally, Angel, use anything. I used to have a necklace I wore all the time with a little heart on the end of it, and I could just snap the heart onto the hook of the chain and just let it spin and use it when I was with someone or an animal, and I didn't have a pendulum. At some point, thanks to Wendy, I decided I should buy some to have. And I have a client who brings one when she comes. She's a massage therapist, and we're working with her daughter who has a traumatic brain injury from a horse fall. And she has one with beautiful rose quartz on the end. So you have to find a stone that works for you. Your sister makes brackets with gemstones. I can get great stones. Well, you get stones that resonate with you. One of the things I would use probably if I was working specifically with end-of-life issues on a repeated basis, and I might even get one of these at some point, is an amethyst stone on the end, because that is associated with some of the higher chakras, and it's purple, which is my... thanks, Wendy. Such great information. A lot of this I learned from you. And purple is one of my favorite colors, so having an amethyst on the end of a pendulum would be really useful. So Reiki, the Reiki practitioner, is going to just be bringing that universal energy to the animal, to have the animal use it however they want. And they will do this mostly with their hands off the body over those chakra centers. And they'll hold their hands there for a few minutes, like literally minutes. You know, you've got 7 chakras. It takes an hour or so, 50 minutes for a Reiki session. So you can divide that up, and you see you've got quite a few minutes in each place. With a little animal like this, it might not be so long. So the Reiki practitioner is going to hold their hands over each of the chakras and just allow that energy to do whatever it needs to do in the body. So, you know, we've all heard about things like having unfinished business that we have to wrap up before we cross. And that may be true for even an organ in your body. So that's part of what's happening. That Reiki energy is allowing whatever is unresolved in this end of the body to make its peace and to bring itself to a conclusion. And you're going to work your way all the way up through the body. You don't want that soul to have to jump to the other side and still be rooted in the earth energy and the groundedness of the lower chakras, which can happen if something's hit by a car or dies suddenly. So that's why we do many of the other things we do for roadkill. And I may either re-upload or redo the Prayers for Roadkill Conversations with a Corgi, because that was so popular. It had like 1 million views, and that was like the 4th one I did. So anyway, the Reiki practitioner will hold their hands over each of these chakras and allow that energy to do what it needs in the body. Part of that might be something healing a little bit along the way. Just because something's dying doesn't mean that things are not working. Your body has a strong life force. It really wants to live. So things are going to be functioning at the best as they can all the way up till the very end. Massages help, you're lucky. He's back to normal. Yay. Glad those conversations with the Corgi T-Touch helped you. So Reiki is super important at the end of life. And, you know, if you know Reiki or have a friend who does Reiki, I think really, even after the spirit has technically left the body, when you're at the vet's office and you come out with your body and you're going to take it home, I would even then not be shy about asking someone to do Reiki on your pet if he's passed. Because really, just quieting and following those upper chakras as that spirit is making the transition can be super helpful and peaceful, and really help the energy of the situation. If there's anything that's unresolved or that needs a little smoothing over, that Reiki energy can really help with the crossing over the Rainbow Bridge. And remember, from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, Living and Dying, we know that there is some life force in that body for up to 3 days. And so it's really important that you honor that body. You don't just take, you know, your goldfish and flush them down the toilet like we did when we were children. I don't think we ever did that in my house, but, you know, honor that body. You know, give it some time. It is amazing. I was watching somebody on some TV show doing a reenactment from the end of one of the scenes in Romeo and Juliet, where Romeo is dead and Juliet sees that he's been poisoned, and she, of course he hasn't really been poisoned, but she comes and she kisses him, hoping that that poison will kill her because she can't live without him. And of course he's been given a strong sleeping agent, so then he wakes up and he has to kill himself after he sees that she stabs herself. But that idea of crossing over and, you know, having to be dead for, you know, like really crossed over for 3 days. We can see that in Romeo and Juliet because he's been gone for a while when she comes upon him. And he's not cold and stiff and blue. Of course, he's not really dead. But that idea was common. And it's, you know, one of the things, I was watching something else too, and they said, well, we always do this to make sure they're dead before we bury them. So, you know, there can be a low level of life force still in a body. And having someone do Reiki, of course now we have modern medicine and we know when something's really gone. So, but having someone do Reiki even on your animal after he crosses can be really helpful. You didn't know this. It makes sense. Yeah. And of course we're not all doing all of this, but if you are working in hospice care, or if you're someone like me who really helps a lot of people with end-of-life issues with pets and humans, then these kinds of things really give you some structure to the process. And certainly just having the people around someone or animal that's crossing, just pray. If that's what they do in their spiritual tradition, or chant, or repeat a mantra, or whatever it is that brings them spiritual strength. If they are practicing that while something's passing, it's really going to help that whole process. So, Roger, thanks for coming. So Reiki can be a super useful thing when an animal is crossing the Rainbow Bridge and after the animal has crossed the Rainbow Bridge. And I have had Reiki practitioners I've known, and I myself have done this, do Reiki with even just the collar. Remember, leave the collar open after your animal crosses so that he's free. But just with the collar or the bed of the animal, because that energy, Reiki is about energy, and that energy is still in that bed and still in that collar and still with that animal. And certainly after your animal crosses, to have somebody do Reiki on you can be really, really helpful. And Reiki is so mainstream now. When I was diagnosed with cancer 11 years ago, one of the modalities that was offered for free for people through the Komen Foundation was Reiki. And I've had quite a lot of Reiki sessions in my life, but that session was very good. The woman was a very good Reiki practitioner, and you know, she wasn't getting paid her full sum because it was through this foundation, but she was lovely, and you know, she was very quiet and calming, and I could feel shifts in my body. You know, there's so much caught up in the word cancer that people are so afraid of it, that negative energy is directed at you when you say to someone, I have cancer. And you have to really be strong in who you are to be able to say, I have cancer, but I'm fine, because you are fine. Cancer is a separate part of your body. And so having that Reiki session was really helpful to just kind of clear some stuff away from my body. that I had going on. And it was a profound experience. And I know for a fact that all of my animals that have had Reiki in their lifetimes, and animals I've done Reiki with when they were crossing the Rainbow Bridge, were much comforted by it. So one of the things you should put in your homework bag, besides figuring out where a place for cremation is and what you're going to do with your pet when he's gone, and finding your support system of friends and just having this all sort of organized, is find a Reiki practitioner in your area, because at your animal's end of life, it's going to be really helpful. And to that end, you may even want to take a Reiki course yourself. There are many online. I'm sure my friend Wendy here, who's watching, Wendy Weatherwax, might be able to do a Reiki course for you online, so that you will know what you need to know to be able to work with your own pet. I have to say, except in this hospice process, many animals don't like their own person doing Reiki on them, because they feel it's their job to look after you. And when you're doing Reiki on them, sometimes it gets a little muddy with the energy, because you're trying to help instead of just allow. And that makes a big difference. So not always the easiest thing to work on your own pet. You felt something? Yes. Oh, Wendy's in. Wendy also does an online class in shamanic work, which I think she'll be offering again in 2019. At some point, I might even take that class. So, Wendy, you'll be very popular. And somebody else is doing workshops in the Massachusetts area. And there's also a woman teaching shamanic work who comes out to Eastern Mass that I've met through a horse person. But Wendy's class is specifically for shamanic work with animals, so I would recommend that. And in fact, we will be talking more about shamanic work with end-of-life issues as we continue in this series, which will be tomorrow, barring any more tree moving. So thanks for your input, everyone. I hope this was helpful. Reiki is a really good thing to do for end-of-life and hospice care for people and animals. I highly recommend that you look into it. Find someone in your area who can work with you. And if you can't get it for your animal, at least get it for yourself. And you are so welcome, Wendy. And if you're here tomorrow, Wendy, I'm going to try to be closer to 8:30, and maybe you can tell us more about shamanic work than whatever I say, or at least be available for people to email you or Facebook message you. No, I'll try to do that one tomorrow. Thanks, April. Thank you, Danny. Everybody have a good day. I've got a really exciting new dog client coming. Exciting to me. The poor little guy, he's got a hurt back, herniated disc, or bulging, or disrupted. As an actual human physical therapist, I know a tremendous amount about discs, so I'm very interested to see this dog. I'm getting to do a radio interview with my pal Bernie Siegel for the radio show I have with my sister. I think Bernie will be airing in January. And he did a great talk for the Animal Wellness Summit, for those of you who signed up. Thanks for joining us. We will be back tomorrow, and we will be talking about shamanic work for end-of-life issues. Everybody have a great day. I wish you were closer. I do too. And Angel, I teach classes. I teach Reiki, Tellington Tea Touch, and craniosacral therapy all across the country. If you can get like 6 people, I don't know where you are, depending on how far I have to travel, but if you can get like 6 people together, I can come and do classes for you. So keep that in mind. Thanks for joining us. Everybody have a great day. Tristan enjoyed the tree pickup. He got a lot of running around. We'll see you tomorrow.